Our small New England town lay wrapped in a pristine white blanket of snow after a long night's storm. Standing by the frosty window, hands curled around a warm mug of tea, I watched the early January light spill gently across the quiet streets. There was a sacred stillness in the air, serene and reflective, that mirrored how silent parts of my life had become since Paul left. My ex-husband's departure had left just Sam and me to build something new. Sam had only been 4 years old at the time. It wasn't easy, but together we found our rhythm. He became my anchor, the brightest light in my life. Now, at 21, Sam was growing into his own. I had been lost in thoughts, contemplating how to shrink dreams too big for this little town, when the sound of footsteps on the stairs pulled me back. They were firm, confident, just like Sam had become. He entered the kitchen in pants and a knit jacket, camera slung over his shoulder, his smile warm despite the January chill. "Good morning, Mom," he said, leaning down to kiss my cheek. It was a small gesture, but even that felt different now. His beard brushing softly against my skin, a quiet reminder of how much he'd grown. "Good morning, sweetheart. Where are you off to so early?" I asked. "The lake," he said, voice filled with excitement. "After snow, the light's amazing. I want to catch it before it changes." Pride swelled in my chest, and I nodded. Sam had always had an eye for the quiet beauty others missed. That's why his photographs told stories. They captured emotion, not just scenes. "Do you need someone to talk to?" I asked, surprising, even myself. I usually let him focus on his art without interference, but something today pulled me toward him. His eyes lit up. "Would you come?" I smiled. "Of course. I haven't seen the lake in winter in ages." We bundled up in layers and stepped into the snow-covered streets. The cold nipped at our faces, but even the short walk to the lake stirred a sense of peace in me. When we reached the shore, I stopped in awe. The pale sky met the frozen lake in a seamless blend, while bare branches shimmered with frost like they were dipped in diamonds. Sam set up his camera swiftly, adjusting the lens with practiced hands and focused eyes. There was grace in his movements, purpose in his touch. In that moment, I saw glimpses of Paul, not the man who walked away, but the dreamer I once loved. "Mom." Sam's voice pulled me from memory. He looked over with a gentle smile. "Are you okay?" Brushing snow from my coat, I nodded slowly. "Just thinking, watching you work. Reminds me of your dad." What surprised me was Sam's calmness. He rarely brought Paul up, but now his expression softened. "Do you miss him?" he asked. I hesitated. "Not in the way you might think. I miss the idea of what we could have been, the family we were supposed to be. But I'm grateful too. It meant I got to have more time with you." He didn't say a word, just stepped closer, set the camera down, and wrapped his arms around me. Through layers of fabric, I felt his warmth. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly safe. In a low voice, he whispered, "I'm glad it's just us. I wouldn't change a thing." My eyes welled with tears, but I blinked them away quickly. "Neither would I whispered back. We stayed at the lake while the sun continued to rise. Slowly, the frost melted and the snow shimmered under golden light. Sam captured every detail, the sparkle on the ice, gentle waves against the frozen shore, faint fox tracks threading between trees. As I watched him work, something quietly shifted inside me. Sam wasn't just my little boy anymore. He was a man now, shaping a future of his own. Still, I knew the bond we shared was unbreakable, no matter how far his dreams would one day take him. As we walked home, I glanced over at him and smiled. "Sam," I said. "Yeah? Make me a promise. anything. Always look for beauty in the world. That's what we need more of." He smiled, and in the crisp morning air, his breath curled into small clouds of light. "Mom, I won't. I promise." As we walked through the snow-covered streets, something inside me shifted. It felt like spring had quietly crept into the world, like a gentle warmth blooming in my chest. "You know," Sam said, giving me a sly smile as he looked over at me, "I think I finally understand why my photos haven't been getting much attention lately." His sudden seriousness caught my interest, and I tilted my head. Before I could say a word, he stopped in his tracks, raised his camera, and aimed it straight at me. "The best subject has always been right in front of me," he said with a soft smile. I laughed and brushed a dusting of snow off my coat. "You mean me?" "Oh, come on, Sam. I'm not exactly photogenic." He didn't answer right away. He just took the photo. When he finally lowered the camera, his voice was steady and sincere. "That's where you're wrong. You are beautiful, not because of perfect skin or perfect anything. It's about what's inside. It's about who you are, and who you are is amazing." The flush in my cheeks had nothing to do with the cold. I tried to keep my voice light. "You really know how to use words, don't you?" He grinned, teasing. "It's part of the beauty." And the teasing didn't stop. All the way home, he kept snapping photos and cracking jokes, inside jokes that only the two of us shared. By the time we reached the front door, my face ached from smiling, but it was the best kind of ache. As his boots hit the wooden floor, he said, "I can't wait to show you these." I unwrapped my scarf and hung it by the door. "I think I'll love them, but only if I get to approve the edits first." He gave me a playful look as he headed upstairs. "Don't be surprised if they turn out better than you think." While I cleaned up, I chuckled softly to myself, still glowing from our walk. As usual, Sam got lost in his creative world for the rest of the day. Gentle music and the rhythmic clicks of his camera floated down from his room like background, whispers of his inspiration. The next morning, the rich aroma of fresh coffee stirred me from sleep. I stretched slowly, not quite ready to leave the warmth of my blankets for the chill of a January morning. Then I heard the creak of the door. Sam stood in the doorway with a wooden tray. On it sat a steaming mug of coffee, a muffin with a single candle, and a small pot of blooming flowers. "Happy birthday, Mom," he said in a voice filled with quiet love. "Sam," I breathed, sitting up, tears stinging the corners of my eyes. "You didn't have to do all this." He placed the tray gently on my lap. "Of course I did. You deserve it." He sat on the edge of the bed, watching me sip my coffee and blow out the candle. It was everything I loved, thoughtful, simple, and full of meaning. The day felt special before it even began. Hours passed in a rhythm of warm smiles and gentle silences. By evening, the house was still and peaceful. I curled up on the couch with a book, perfectly content in the quiet. I didn't hear Sam coming downstairs until just before midnight. He stepped into the living room holding a sleek black box. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes shimmered with excitement. He stopped in front of me and said, "Mom, for your birthday, I have one more treat for you." I put down my book and smiled at him. "Sam, you've already done a lot today." "What is this?" He said. "Open it and see." But his tone was playful. I lifted the lid to see what was inside and saw layers of thin tissue paper. There was a beautiful set of black underwear inside, along with a satin robe that felt too soft to touch. At first, I didn't know what to say as I stared at it. "Sam," I began, but my voice was shaking. "This is lovely," he cut her off with a widening grin. "There's more, put it on and go up." Believe me, I wasn't sure what to do about his request. So I waited, but the thrill in his voice was contagious. I got up the courage to say yes. and then I took the box to my room. Once. I was dressed in the robe and underwear. I went up the stairs feeling nervous and excited at the same time. I was speechless as I pushed open his door. The room had a soft red glow from the lamps and the fabric that was wrapped over them. A smooth metal pole stood in the middle. Of the room in the corner, a machine was making faint wisps of smoke. A sleek and classy black leather. Cat Mask was sitting on a table nearby. He looked at me with the camera in his hand. He told her in a friendly, sincere voice, "You look great." He then gave me the mask and said, "Put this on, things will look even better in the pictures." Even though I wasn't sure, his smile made me feel better just for fun. He said in a soft voice, "You've always helped other people a lot. I'll do this for you." I took a deep breath, put on the mask, and walked into the red light. The room was filled with happy music, and the beat got people moving. I felt weird at first, but Sam's praise and laughing quickly made me feel better. He carefully led me and captured moments that were both fun and inspiring. He lowered the camera for a moment and said, "You're a natural. You're so amazing. I don't think you know it. Being honest with me caught me off guard, and when I looked into his eyes through the red light, I felt something change. There was more to this than just parties and pictures. It was all about getting closer. I fully trusted him as the night went on, letting go of my fears to just enjoy the moment with the red glow and soft haze from the smoke machine. The beat of the music filled the room. I was filled with joy and found parts of myself I had forgotten about. For a long time, Sam stopped and looked at me with a serious face. "I think you're amazing," he said. His voice had a note of respect in it. "All of your confidence has been hidden somewhere." I shook my head and laughed. "Hide it?" "Dear Sam, this is not at all like a normal Thursday night for me." Sam smiled and said, "You're talented, and I think you're enjoying this more than you're letting on." I laughed at his jokey statement. Not everything, he said, was wrong. Letting myself be seen felt both freeing and vulnerable at the same time. Then a memory came back to me. It was something I hadn't thought about in years, because of all the work and responsibilities I had. "Do you think this is cool?" I made fun of her by crossing my arms and giving her a naughty look. "You haven't seen anything yet?" Sam raised an eyelid and his face showed that he was interested. "Oh, what else do you want to hide?" I answered, taking off my satin robe to show the delicate underwear underneath. "I used to take heels classes," I said. "I can still remember a few moves." His eyes got really big in surprise, and he took a big step back while waving his camera around. "Now you need to show me." "So be it," I said in a fake serious voice. "Don't you dare laugh." There was a sense of excitement in the room as I moved toward the silver pole. It had been years since I did something like this. But muscles remember things. Getting off my shoes, I grabbed the pole and easily climbed it before arching smoothly into a spin. The fact that the movement felt smooth showed how many hours I had spent practicing my form. Sam stood still, and for a moment, I forgot about his camera as I moved into a set of moves. I forgot. I still knew how to do a cartwheel, a fireman spin, and even a risky climb up the pole as I went down. The soft red light bounced off the silver surface, and my steps were smooth and sure. When I finally hit the ground, I turned around and saw Sam clapping loudly with a real smile on his face. He walked over to me and said, "Mom, that was amazing. Why did I not know you could do that?" I shrugged, out of breath, but thrilled. "That was a long time ago. I liked going to school before you were born. I had no idea I'd still have it." "Well, I'm officially impressed," he said, his voice getting softer as pride lit up his tone. "Wow, you look so beautiful." I was surprised by how sincere his speech sounded. He moved in closer and kissed my cheek. The warmth of his love lingered just long enough to reach me. "You really do look great tonight," he said, moving back to make room for me. "I really mean it." I didn't know what to say. For a moment the moment felt deep. Because of his smile and the sincere respect in his words, I said, "Thank you." and adjusted the robe around my shoulders. "Thanks a lot." "Sam," I became aware of how quiet the house was as the music changed to a softer tune. The world outside of his room seemed far away and unimportant. We were the only ones in this place, and our bond was so strong that words couldn't describe it. Sam smiled as he picked up his camera again and held it up. "May, I have one last shot. There's nothing fancy, just you and the pole I was on the fence." But his look of encouragement made it hard for me to say no. I leaned lightly against the pole and let the robe fall over my shoulders. I looked into his eyes through the lens. When the flash went off, it caught a moment I would never forget. Lowered the camera and said, "Perfect, you're so good at it." I laughed and shook my head. "You're a great shooter in my opinion." He took a step closer, and his face softened. He said, "Maybe. But I think you're expecting too much from me. Dear Mom, you've always been unique. I'm just lucky to see it." His words stopped, me in my tracks even, though we were just teasing each other. This moment felt deep, like we had found a part of our relationship again that had been waiting to come out slowly. The evening came to an end, and there was a nice quiet mood after Sam finally put this camera away. I was out of breath from the spontaneous act, and we laughed about it over a late-night cup of tea in the kitchen. It felt normal and easy, like the night had brought us closer. When I finally got into bed, my mind was full of feelings. Sadness, happiness, pride, and something else I couldn't quite put my finger on. Sam had always been my everything and the reason I got through the hardest times in my life. But tonight, he gave me something I didn't know. I needed a chance to live again. From tomorrow on, everything would be fine, but before I went to sleep, I thought about the red light, the laughing, and the strong bond between a mother and her son. The house was less noisy in the morning than usual as the hours went by. I started to wonder what Sam was doing, since he hadn't come downstairs. He would normally be in the kitchen making coffee or messing around with his camera right now. Instead, there was a strange silence, like something had changed. I chose to go check on him because I was interested. As I went up the stairs, I stopped outside his door to listen a low whisper, and some soft movements made me hear the faint sound of his voice. I lightly knocked, but I didn't wait for someone to answer Sam as I opened the door. I called. I stopped in my tracks when I saw what it did. He was on his bed with his legs spread out and a camera in his hand. The screen had a dim glow, and I knew right away what the pictures were. Pictures from the last night, the ones of me, with the satin robe and the soft haze of smoke that were taken under the red light when he heard my voice. He quickly turned around and put the camera off. His face turned red, and he sat up quickly, trying to avoid looking at me. "Oh, Mom," he stuttered. "I didn't hear you knock." I went inside and shut the door behind me. I told Sam in a soft voice, "It's okay," to calm him down. "Why did you quickly turn it off? I can see." As he looked down at the camera, his fingers were tight on it. He said, "I didn't think you'd want to see them." His voice was barely above a whisper. "There you go, Staff." I gave him a soft smile and sat down next to him on the edge of the bed. "That picture was taken by you, Sam. I believe in you, and I want to see what you've caught." He paused for a moment, and his fingers turned white as he held the camera tightly. His face stayed red, and the tips of his ears lit up red. But after a short pause, he let out a deep breath, nodded, and unwillingly gave me the camera. His eyes were fixed on the floor as he said, "I didn't mean to make this awkward. I just wanted to be sure I did everything right." I carefully picked up the camera, turned it on, and looked through the pictures. Each picture was beautiful in its own way. He caught me in a light I didn't quite recognize, a mix of beauty, power, and softness that seemed almost alien. In some photos, I was laughing so hard that my head was thrown back in real happiness. In others, I was more serious and controlled, and the red light made every detail stand out. "Sam," I said, my voice shaking as I looked at the pictures, "these are really cool." Heffinley looked up and his face showed a mix of worry and hope. Do you really believe that I looked him in the eyes and nodded? Sam, you're so talented. That's how you see the world and how you see me. I have no words for it. He bit this lip in a shy smile and the tightness in his shoulders went away a little. He said in a soft voice, I just wanted you to see how amazing you are. I want to thank you for all the things you've done for me, Mom. I put down the camera and gently squeezed his hand. Sam, you've already given me a lot. How much more do you know? We sat there in quiet. For a moment, our feelings heavy, but comfortable even though we didn't say him. He still had red cheeks when I looked at him, but his face showed that he was vulnerable, which showed how much he had grown. I lightly teased, You're blushing? To try to ease the stress. He gave a soft laugh and ran his hand through his hair. I just didn't think you'd walk in while I was looking at them, he said with a smug grin. As I gave him back the camera, I told him, Don't feel embarrassed. That which you made is lovely and I am so proud of you. He touched my fingers with his. Ash took the camera and held it close to his chest. He told her, Thanks, Mom. In a soft but moving voice, Thank you very much, just like he did the night before. I leaned in close and kissed him on the cheek. His skin felt warm and he smiled with eyes that sparkled with thanks. I told Sam as I stood there, You have a great talent. Don't let anyone ever change your mind. When I left his room, I shut the door slowly as I thought about the moment a wave of happiness and love came over.